If you're thinking about doing a road trip in your Jeep TJ, you probably want to have an idea of what you'll be spending on gas. In the beginning of this year, I went on an 8-week road trip in my Jeep TJ, and I kept track of my gas mileage. Hopefully you can use some of this information to better plan your trip. But first, a little bit about my Jeep so you can compare it to yours and see if the gas mileage would be about the same. Although mostly stock, I have a couple of mods that definitely affected the gas mileage. One being the roof rack and lights. The roof rack was definitely essential for this trip. We wouldn't have been able to fit everything we needed if I didn't have it. But after everything was loaded on top, it was an extra 1 or 2 feet of just flat wind resistance. And with a Jeep shaped like a brick, that doesn't help. As far as mods go, I have a 1-inch lift, thrush muffler with larger exhaust piping. At the time of the trip, I had an AFE cold air intake, and I did a rear storage platform, so I removed the back seats and built just a wooden platform so I could have a fridge and the fridge sliding mount from Overland Vehicle Systems. Other than that, just slightly larger than stock tires. I had 245/75/16s, which is about a 30.1-inch tire, and stock gears. Also just stock bumper and a basically stock rear bumper, just has a trailer hitch. And after everything was loaded into the Jeep, it was squatting quite a bit. It was my girlfriend and I, so we had 2 people's worth of clothes and food. Like I said before, I took the back seats out, but then added a storage platform and put a Dometic fridge and a fridge sliding kitchen set, which was not light. All of our clothes and a lot of the food was packed inside the Jeep in the back, and then on top on the roof rack was the camping stuff, the kitchen stuff, and other sort of miscellaneous stuff that we didn't need access to was on the roof rack. And I did have my drive shafts rebuilt before the trip, but this Jeep squatting that bad, I still had some vibration on acceleration, which definitely didn't help with efficiency. As far as the pre-trip maintenance, I did the basic pre-road trip essential things that you should do before your road trip. Oil change. I actually changed my spark plugs because I don't think they'd been changed in a long time. So basically the Jeep was running just as good as new. So with that, let's get into the gas mileage and some of the gas prices we encountered. So the average on the trip was about 14.2 miles per gallon. I will say I did not track through the entire trip every single stop, but after the first couple weeks, I was getting the same numbers. So I figured it was good enough. I tracked the MPG for 15 of the gas stops, and 14.2 is the average. The lowest I got was around 13, 13.3 I think was the lowest, and the highest was about 16. As far as some of the gas prices, we started in Missouri, which obviously is very cheap gas in Missouri, in the low $2 range, and then we went into Texas, which was also very cheap. And then the further west we went, New Mexico was still cheap, but then as soon as you get into California, it's usually in the $5 range per gallon. The most expensive gas we bought was in Gorda. It was right on the coast off the Highway 1, and it was $8.79 per gallon. So now that I know that, here's what I would do if I were to do this trip again. This is the things that I would change. First, just put your stock airbox on. If you have a cold air intake and you kept your stock airbox, just put it back on. That's what the Jeep was designed to use. And let's say you're in a really dusty area. The stock air filter is really easy to just take out and smack clean. Or if you need to buy a new one, you could get it at any auto parts store. With the cold air intake, it sometimes can be a little difficult to get that air cone filter off your intake and then clean it. You know, sometimes they're oiled, which is just weird. And then if you want to buy a new one, they're typically more expensive than your rectangle air filter. The biggest thing would definitely be I would get rear helper springs to do a trip like that again. After I got back, I actually installed rear airbags, and if I would have had that on the trip, I think the drive shaft vibration would have been eliminated, and we probably would have gotten at least 1 mile per gallon better, which isn't that much, but overall, over time, it adds up. It would be pretty cool to have some of those really low profile Pelican storage boxes on the roof rack, but those are extremely expensive. I just had some Plano crates, and they worked very well. They're just a little tall, so you get a lot more wind resistance. Some of the places in California and Utah, we drove through some crazy wind, and sometimes it would be like 4-hour drive. When we would leave, it'd be extremely windy. The entire drive would be extremely windy. And when we would get to our next location, it would still be extremely windy. So cutting down on as much wind resistance as possible would be your best bet. But I know there's not much you can do for a Jeep. So definitely on your trip, expect to be at the gas station often. I got maybe 210 miles per tank, maybe even a little less than that. We allocated half of our entire trip budget just to gas. So you might as well download an app like Upside to get a couple cents back per gallon. But overall, it's worth it. Go see some cool places. You'll make back your money, but you can't make back your time. Hopefully this video helped and you got a little more information to better plan your trip. Have a good trip. Peace.